Somewhere between reality and imagination lies the realm of the paranormal. A place filled with spirits, magic, and the unexplained. Come with us on our journey to discover if the stories are true or if they are all just smoke and mirrors.
Welcome to Smoke and Mirrors, the podcast that dives deep into cases of the paranormal to separate the facts from the fiction. I am your host, Daryl.
And I'm Cindy.
And we're going to use this opportunity before releasing the first episode to let you get to know us, the show, and how we got interested in the paranormal. Cindy, tell everybody about yourself.
Well, I'm your wife and a mother of 3 pretty okay kids. I have a super spoiled dog named Bella, and I'm currently campaigning to get a little goat.
All right, yeah. Much to my chagrin. What got you interested in the paranormal?
The first time I ever really thought anything about it was when Maddie was probably 2 or 3 months old. I got up in the middle of the night to go and check on her because she had just recently started sleeping in the crib from the bassinet. And when I walked by her room, I glanced in and saw my peepaw sitting in the rocking chair looking at the crib. I took a few more steps before I think my brain caught up and realized what I had seen, and I turned around, of course, and went back, and he wasn't sitting there. There's no doubt in my mind that I did see him. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't dreaming. He was there. And since then, I've just been fascinated by people's stories, and I think it's maybe gives people some hope that you can see family members or loved ones that have gone on, and I don't know.
So you're a true believer in ghosts and spirits and an afterlife?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, now, as for me, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm very skeptical about most things that are considered paranormal. I'm open-minded enough, though, that I can actually look at it and see what is explainable and what is not. And I guess for me, I almost want to prove it to myself. I want to believe that there's something after, and I want to find hard proof of that. And I guess that's been my struggle, is finding any real hard proof. So there's going to be some interesting debates on, whether or not something is believable or not believable, or what's real and what isn't.
I agree with that. I think that we come at it from totally opposite directions, whereas you need it to be proven to be true, and I kind of take it at face value. I believe the people what they're saying, and then if there's something that is contradictory or doesn't add up, then I'll start to doubt a little bit.
Yeah. And saying that, now, I don't believe that people are lying. I believe that they believe they've experienced what they say they've experienced. I don't think that, for the most part, most people aren't trying to just make something up. Now, you've got a few people, like in the paranormal world, that kind of have ruined it and given it a bad name in order to get ratings or in order to make themselves look better or maybe more interesting. They've made up stories. And so that was kind of another reason I wanted to do this podcast, was so we could try to kind of get to the root of the real stories, again, what's real and what's fiction. The reason I'm fascinated in it more than anything was because when I was a kid, as you know, and we first moved to Tennessee, my parents rented this house, and it was a pretty big house, had 4 bedrooms, and had full attic, full basement, and a lot of strange things happened in that house. Doors would lock themselves, heaters would turn themselves on, and we would hear noises at night. And then in the upstairs, in the attic, we had our toys up there. But I can remember just running up there and grabbing what I needed and hauling back downstairs because you felt like you were being watched.
Mwahahaha.
And I promise, folks, I'll try to keep her from doing that as much as possible.
I've been waiting to do that for a long time.
So anyway, I think my dad, he believed that maybe someone was living in the house that we didn't know about and hiding upstairs in the attic. And he had kind of a strange encounter, which is the story that I told in the teaser episode. And, I don't know. As I've gotten older, I realized that old houses, because of the wiring and the electricity, they can put off EMFs, which cause hallucinations. And the thing is, like with the heaters and the doors, it would always seem to occur when we were gone. So if we left the house and we'd make sure that, it's summertime, all the heaters in the house were off, and then we'd come home and the heaters in the house would be on. Or there was a screen door and a main back door. And we would always lock the back door and leave the screen door unlocked because we had a key for the back door, but the screen door just had a hook that locked it. And we'd come home and the back door would be wide open and the screen door would be locked.
That's creepy.
But it always happened when we were gone. And then I think it was about 2 weeks after we moved out, the house burned to the ground. Also, there was, when I say I was young, I was 5 and 6. And I can remember my mom and dad saying that I used to go into this one little area that was under the stairs, and I would go under there, and they said I had an imaginary friend that I would go in there and talk to. I don't remember any of that, but kids have imaginary friends. So again, I could probably find a logical explanation for everything that occurred in the house.
I think, though, that kids are more apt to see spirits and ghosts and things like that. So,
yeah, possibly. I'd have to have hard proof.
I'd like some hard proof. Well, I appreciate that it only took me 6 weeks of nagging before you finally agreed to let me do this with you.
Yeah. Admittedly, I was looking for possibly another host, and you kept saying, well, I can do it, and I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But I knew you really didn't feel comfortable behind the microphone.
Correct.
But yeah, eventually I had to relent and just let you do it. So let's talk about what we're going to do in the upcoming episode. We're going to discuss the true story behind The Conjuring. And we've been kind of researching it quite a bit and watching videos about the true story. And, we just try to get into it and see how credible they are and how credible the stories are. And, okay, another thing I want to do is kind of clear someone's name that's been vilified by this case by going into the actual historical documents and facts that show what really occurred. And so I have a few issues with this case, and we're going to discuss that, as well as discussing the movie that was made out of the actual story. And that ought to be a fun little discussion because we're going to rewatch it again tonight.
Yeah, we've been watching interviews with the children that lived in the house, and tonight we're going to rewatch the movie. And as much as I love all things scary, I am the world's biggest chicken. So I'm not looking forward to that.
It ought to be a fun time discussing it. And then also what we want to do at the end of every show, we want to share listener stories. So if you have a story of an encounter with the paranormal, feel free to send those in and we'll read them at the end of the show. You can send those to smokeandmirrorspod@gmail.com.
If you'd like to subscribe to our show, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Podomatic, our YouTube channel, and on our website at smokeandmirrorspod.weebly.com.
Just search for Smoke and Mirrors Paranormal on your favorite podcast player. And if it isn't there, let us know. We'll be happy to get it added. Also, in the second and third episode, we're going to have a couple of guests. One of them is an expert in the field of Bigfoot research, and the other is a ghost hunter. And I think it'll be interesting shows, and I'm going to ask some difficult questions. And I really want to learn as much as I possibly can about these fields. And I feel like the best way for me to learn and for you to learn and for everyone to learn is to actually bring in experts in those fields and talk to them.
I agree.
All right. I'm glad you joined us for this first little get to know you episode. I hope you subscribe and listen to the show coming up. I think it's going to be a good one. And if you have any questions or any comments, again, send those to smokeandmirrorspod@gmail.com.
Have a good night.